Meghan, and the money launderer. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The Archwell Foundation, launched by Harry and this one's wife in 2020, has found itself the primary target of repeated allegations of money laundering. Critics have accused it of being a slush fund for personal enrichment, tax evasion, or laundering money through opaque donations and grants. In late 2023, social media posts and videos alleged that the IRS was investigating Archwell for money laundering after its Form 990 tax filing showed $4 to $11 million in unaccounted funds or hidden donations. Similar stories in 2024 and 2025 arose, claiming that the IRS froze 13 Delaware bank accounts linked to the couple, or that Archwell was suspected by a court for tax evasion. There is no actual evidence that supports these allegations. They simply arose as speculation across Facebook posts, Quora threads, and YouTube channels. Indeed, in May 2024, California's Attorney General confirmed that Archwell is fully compliant in good standing after reviewing the claims. Charity Watch, an independent watchdog, analysed the 2022 Form 990 and found no red flags for fraud or private inurement, which is using charity funds for personal gain. Harry and this one's wife addressed the missing millions reports in 2024, attributing discrepancies to delayed grant disbursements and timing differences in tax filings, common for non-profits. The foundation reported $25 million raised since inception, with 2022 expenses including $5.4 million in grants to causes like women's rights and mental health. No IRS investigation has been publicly confirmed. James Holt, Archwell's CEO since 2021, has also been dragged into rumours, with some claiming he exposed a $100 million scam or withheld $15 million from charities. These stem from a 2023 tax filing showing Harry and this one's wife worked just 1 hour weekly, while Holt earned $244,000 annually. In reality, Holt has defended the foundation publicly, and the supposed exposé claims are simply dismissed as clickbait by fact checkers. Nevertheless, this one's wife did once fraternise with a money launderer in an interesting tale which tells us much about how the behaviour of the narcissist causes their undoing. The thumbnail shows this one's wife and a gentleman called Mansour Mahmoud Hussein. The picture was taken back at the Global Gift Gala in London in 2013, some time before this one's wife met Prince Harry. She then, as you know, met him and married him, and Hussein republished the image to his Instagram followers, captioned, "Great night with the Duchess of Sussex, this one's wife." But what's the story in relation to Hussein and the connection with this one's wife and other celebrities? Well, for more than 20 years, Mansour Mahmoud Hussein, who was known across Leeds, a city in the north of England, as Manny, moved through northern England social circles. He posed as a glamorous property developer, a self-made millionaire who amassed a sprawling empire of apartments, homes and commercial sites across West Yorkshire, Cheshire and London. His social media presence painted the picture he wanted the world to see. High-performance supercars lined up on a well-manicured driveway, flights on private jets, weekends on super yachts, smiling photos with Simon Cowell, Beyoncé, this one's wife as mentioned, and other celebrities. Behind the facade, investigators believed they were looking at one of the most significant professional money launderers ever embedded in the north of England's criminal landscape. A man who had no criminal convictions, no traceable violent record, and no outward connection to organised crime. Yet, was quietly serving as the financial laundromat for some of the region's most dangerous men. For years, the National Crime Agency gathered fragments of intelligence that showed Hussein was not merely brushing shoulders with gangsters, but acting as a trusted operator, funneling their drug, firearms and robbery profits into bricks, mortar and luxury assets. But intelligence is not evidence, and evidence is what prosecutors desperately lacked. The turning point came with the introduction of a new legal weapon, the Unexplained Wealth Order. Known as the UWO, this power forced Hussein to open his books and explain how, without legitimate income, he could possibly afford a property portfolio worth tens of millions of pounds, that he could travel on private jets, appear on super yachts, and would have a series of high-performance supercars. For the first time, investigators didn't need to prove where criminal money came from. Instead, the burden shifted to the man sitting on the wealth. And when confronted, Hussein could not prove that any of it came from lawful means. The walls closed in. Under pressure, Hussein withdrew his resistance and agreed to a significant settlement. In one of the most significant victories against illicit finance in UK history, he surrendered nearly £10 million worth of property to the National Crime Agency. 45 apartments, houses, offices and developments. Among them was Cubic, a gleaming high-spec apartment complex on the outskirts of Leeds that had once stood as a symbol of his success and had now been claimed by the state. Gone too was his Harrods side London apartment, his Sandmoor Drive mansion, terrace properties in Leeds and Bradford, and a host of commercial units scattered across the country. Accordingly, the reason that this individual came to the attention of the authorities wasn't because he was a known criminal. It wasn't because he had an existing criminal record. The fact was, he was flaunting his lifestyle and his wealth. Now, as I've been speaking about this individual, you have seen a variety of photographs showing his properties and also some of the people that he fraternized with, who were celebrities. There's no suggestion that any of those celebrities had any awareness of what Hussein was involved in, and certainly wasn't the case in relation to this one's wife. But what it does show is the principle of give the narcissist enough rope and they'll hang themselves. That this individual, as a necessity of his grandiosity, his absence of accountability, the necessity of showmanship, the necessity of demonstrating that he was superior and special, his desire to ensure that he was seen to be fraternizing with what he regarded as his people, celebrities from different parts of the stratosphere in relation to business tycoons, music moguls, bra ladies, and actresses. This proved to be his downfall. If he had enjoyed his wealth quietly and had set up alternative businesses to make it seem as if he had a form of income, aside from that from laundering the proceeds of crime, then the chances that he would have been detected would have been much, much reduced. But Hussein's narcissism caused him to ensure that he created evidence that ultimately came back to bite him on the backside. He loved to have the pictures taken with the celebrities. He loved to flaunt pictures of him living the high life, and he plastered it all over his social media. This was driven, of course, by his need to control an audience. He had amassed 134,000 Instagram followers to draw fuel from them by way of their responses. But what he did was create a portfolio that attracted the interest of the National Crime Agency, that saw this life of excess and success, of hobnobbing with celebrities, including this one's wife, spending time on private jets and being seen at particular events with a portfolio of various properties, and they asked the question, how can this man afford all of these things? and thus they targeted him with the unexplained wealth order. It goes to show that were it not for his narcissism and his need to show off about his supposed success, he might not have come to the attention of the authorities. If his narcissism hadn't led him to need to hobnob with celebrities such as Beyoncé, Simon Cowell, and this one's wife, and then plaster that all over his social media, in some instances more than once, he may not have come to the attention of the authorities. If his narcissism had not caused him to need to show off about his fleet of luxury cars and his various properties, he may not have come to the attention of the authorities. But he did all of this, and in a way that's similar to this one's wife's need to show off her supposed achievements on social media, Hussein needed the world to know about the cars, the properties, the celebrities, the lifestyle, and like many other narcissists, he turned to social media as the conduit by which his narcissism utilized it for the purposes of the pursuit of the prime aims. And like so many other narcissists, in so doing, in chasing the prime aims, he created evidence which could then later be used against him. As mentioned, this one's wife had no idea what he was doing, nor did any of the other celebrities. But his link to them and the necessity of showing off, look who I'm seen with, for instance, his Instagram post, Great Night with the Duchess of Sussex, which he reposted years later, having met her in 2013, exemplified the necessity of this narcissist's need for the assertion of control and the drawing of fuel, that his narcissistic traits led him to behave this way, and ultimately caused his money laundering activities to become exposed because he presented himself in a particular light, but had no actual legitimate business to explain the wealth that he had. The arrogance, the dismissiveness, the lack of accountability of the unaware narcissist demonstrated once again. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.